Hey, this is Darren from Property Prosperity. I don't know if anyone's been reading the news lately, but the front page of the Advertiser today was about one of the senators, Senator Bob Day, who's actually a senator locally to where I used to live when I was growing up, actually, in the Tea Tree Gully area. And unfortunately, his business hasn't gone too well for him. He started out with a company called Homestead Homes back, well, probably 30, 40 years ago now, and then he expanded Australia-wide, and he bought a few businesses, other building companies around Australia, and was looking at expanding. Unfortunately, the most recent company he purchased, hey Isaac, thanks for joining. In his own words, he thinks he paid a bit too much for the business. At the same time he was expanding his national company, he also became a senator, and so what that means is once you become a senator, you've really got to pass over the reins of running your business. So what he did was then obviously hand it off to all his managers, hoping that they'd do the right thing. And unfortunately, in his own words again, he said that he probably didn't have the right people managing his business for him. And essentially it means that over time he, the business has gone broke. So what I thought, obviously that's a terrible thing for him. He seems like he was trying to do the right thing. I don't think he was necessarily doing it in a way he was trying to mislead or deceive people. And so, and he's mentioned on there that he's going to be losing his house and a whole pile of things. What happens sometimes with the less scrupulous builders, if they know things aren't going well for themselves, then what they start doing is start hiding their assets, because generally you'll find there's a pretty big lead up time between struggling to pay your bills and finally going broke. So, could be years essentially. And so, he would have known that things aren't doing too well for himself. And so, a scrupulous person, a person with scruples, an ethical person would be then trying to put as much money of their own money into the business as possible to try and trade through the problems. A less scrupulous person would be trying to take out as much money as possible from the business and hide all the money, basically. So it sounds like the fact that he's probably going to be losing his house and a whole lot of things, he probably did the former. He's probably trying to keep the business afloat as much as he possibly can. And if you're doing it in that sense, usually go down in a pretty big way, to be honest. It's when you put your every last cent in trying to get the business get work through their troubles, I suppose, and then eventually you just can't really, just run out of cash. And he had millions of dollars in debts, which you just can't come back from there, basically. And the other thing, if you watch my previous episode, I mentioned with the fact that as soon as it gets out in the public that you're struggling to pay your bills and things aren't going too well, then no clients want to sign up with you, and so essentially that loses any future business you might get, which is going to help you be able to pay your bills. And so it's just a cycle then, and before you know it, you just can't get out of it. And so that's essentially what happened in his situation. But today I thought what I'd do is have a bit of a chat to you about what happens if you're a customer and something like that happens. So first thing to understand is it doesn't happen quickly. So the thing you're going to find with a builder that's not going too well financially is you'll start to see big delays in your construction of your houses. And reading the paper today, they had quite a few articles there about people talking about their experiences, and some of them have been a year or more, or 2 years. Some of them had been waiting for their house to get built, and so there's delays because tradies aren't getting paid, and so they don't want to do the work. And so because they have cash flow issues, the way building works is you have to pay. You only pay once your work's been done. So if you're a builder, you've got to put the slab down first and then you get paid for it. You put the frame up and you get paid, put the brickwork up and you get paid. So you get paid in staged payments, but you're not actually allowed to actually charge anyone up front. So that means if you've got a situation where you don't have a lot of cash, then you can't actually pay to get the slab down in the first place to actually be paid for it. So you don't have an opportunity to make a profit until you spend money up front, but if you don't have any money, you can't make a profit. So it's this catch-22 situation. And that's why you find a lot of these builders that are struggling to pay their bills, they can't afford to get the work done up front, which becomes that situation where they can't get paid. And so that's why you start to find your build's going to get delayed because they can't afford to keep it going. And so a lot of these people are reporting that. So that's the first thing you're going to find. Even before your builder's gone broke, you're going to have this situation where you've got massive time delays. And the reason why that's going to have effect on the homeowner, or the potential homeowner, is the fact that they're paying interest on the land. And so imagine if you've got a block of land, you paid I don't know, $200,000. That's, $1,000 a month you're forking out in interest. Let's say it got delayed by 12 months. That's $12,000 out of your pocket. And if you were trying to rent somewhere at the same time, or you were paying a mortgage for another house somewhere else, that's a double whammy for you. So it really hits you. And obviously, imagine if you got a block of land for $400,000, it's going to be even worse, basically. So you got this situation. It's costing you money while the build's not happening, essentially, and it's costing you money because you're currently renting, waiting for the house to get built. So, hey, John, thanks for joining. And obviously, this isn't a story about you, John. So you're okay. I'm sure you're fine. And so that's the first thing. The clients are already put out because they've got these interest costs of holding the land, waiting for the house to get built. Finally, what happens is eventually, and actually, it sounds like a bad thing, but the builder going broke is probably a really good thing for the client, because what they're doing, they're locked in with that particular builder. They can't go anywhere else until that builder gives them an out, essentially, because they've signed a contract with the builder. It's really hard to get out of the contract unless the builder hasn't fulfilled their obligations. And there is a degree of leeway as far as time delays goes, and so you're just going to keep hanging around. Obviously, you've spent a lot of time and effort and money to get to the point where the house has started to get built. So if there is time delays, you're just going to hang around until it gets done. So, and that could be, it sounds a bit crazy, but I helped a client, their builder went broke, and it was a year and a half. They'd been waiting for their house to get built. Which seems a bit crazy in the sense that, how would someone wait a year and a half for their house to get built? But what were they going to do? They kept getting reasons why the house wasn't getting built, and they gave them a bit of leeway, and then they, obviously had meetings and conversations and talking backwards and forwards and looking at all their options, and, at the end of the day, when you keep doing that backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards, months and months can go past relatively quickly, and it gets to a certain point, and they've got to get the house built anyway, so they've just got to give the builder some leeway. So you can sort of see, why when eventually the builder does go broke and then that contract then is null and void, they're probably relieved to a degree. They're thinking, finally, I can go and find someone else that can come and finish off this house for them. And they're probably not as focused on the money thing. They probably just accepted the fact that we're going to lose money out of this thing. We just need to go somewhere else and just get our house finished. And so it gets to a certain point where you're just over it. You just want to get it done, regardless of what the negative consequences are. So, and people talking about some of the articles I read today, that was their situation. They were just happy that they could just move on. So what happens when a builder goes broke? So when you sign up with a builder, by law, they're meant to get something called professional indemnity insurance. That covers you if they go broke, or if they die, or if they do a runner. So the good thing about that is it's sort of going to help you find the next builder. The thing to understand, just like I explained to you before, you only pay for things after they've been done. So in theory, the builder shouldn't owe you any money because you're never paying for anything up front. So when the builder goes broke, you're not owed any money. So it shouldn't have really any effect on you as a client. It will have effect on the tradies though, because the tradies get paid, do the work, and then they get paid after the work. So quite often you find when builders go broke, the clients are sorted out as far as the professional indemnity insurance, but it's the tradies that are in trouble because they don't have an insurance against essentially their employer or going broke. So they're the ones that are short. And you can imagine if you're laying a slab down for a house, that might be $20,000 or $30,000. Imagine you laid 10 slabs down for a builder. That's 20,000 times by 10. $200,000 you're owed. So it can be quite easily, the numbers can rack up really big. And you imagine if you're a builder, if you're a tradie, that's what you do every day, and then you've had to fork out the money up front in the understanding you're going to get paid, and you don't get paid, and it's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. That could be the end for that tradie. How's he going to be able to come back from there, really? So, because most tradies, generally live pretty close to day by day, and they might put some money aside for a rainy day. But when you get a big hit like that, how are you going to come back from that? How are you going to try and cover that cost? Because essentially what that means is every job you do after that, where obviously you are making profit, those profits are going to try and pay off that loss you made in the past and paying off all the bills that you've had because they've had to commit to the materials and their tradies. They have to pay their tradies. They can't just decide they're not going to pay them. So you can see it's devastating as far as the trade is concerned. But you as the client, you're covered by professional indemnity insurance. So what professional indemnity insurance does cover, you actually find might not be a particularly large amount of money. It might only be $50,000, or depending on the state you're in, it might be more or less than that amount. The reason it's not a particularly large amount of money is because, like I said, you haven't actually paid out for anything. But the reason why they're giving you some money is because what happens is when you go to find another builder to help you finish off the house, they might actually charge you a premium to finish off the house. So they might not honour the original agreement you had with the builder and the original price you had with the builder. Hey Gulshan, thanks for joining. So that original price is null and void because the builder's not there anymore. And because it's a hassle, to be honest, for the new builder to come in, they're taking over all the obligations and the responsibility from that previous builder. So, you know, if the previous builder hadn't done their job correctly, or maybe hadn't built it up to as high a standard, or even they might have done a great job, but maybe it's taken a year to get to this point where the builder's gone broke, and that house was half finished for a year, and it was just sitting out in the weather. You imagine if you got a timber frame, or you know, maybe they put up some chip rock or something, who knows, something happened, and you got leaks in the house. Suddenly they've got to fix up the problems that happened in the past, and then they have to take on the job, and then they have to complete it. And so, and again, completing a half finished off job might mean it's not as profitable as they otherwise would, and so they might charge you a premium to finish off the house. So you can see why that 50 grand or whatever it happens to be, more or less, is just going to cover the hassle factor for the builder of trying to fix up the past issues, and then try and give him a bit of a premium because of the fact he's trying to finish off your job. The other thing, like I said to you, the other thing to consider too is warranty issues. So my advice to people if their builder has gone broke is to get a building inspector to come in and inspect the property and just assess where things are at right now. Because what you want is to have a clear definition between the old builder and the new builder. Because sometimes you might find your new builder that comes in to finish off the house, they might warranty their work, but maybe they're not in a situation they're going to warranty the previous builder's work. So that's a question you want to ask to your new builder. Are you going to cover the warranty of the previous builder, or are you only going to cover the warranty of your work? And if the case is they're only going to cover the warranty of their work, then what you need to do then is make sure you have a clear differentiation between the old builder and the new builder, and you get a building inspector to come and give you advice and make sure, you know, at the end of the day, because the builder's gone broke, it's going to be hard to go back and claim anything. In theory, you know, the insurance company should try and cover some of these things, but again, it's such a grey area. My advice to you is probably get a really thorough building inspector to come in and have a good view of the property and just make sure there's not going to be any surprises down the track. Some of these things, though, will be hard to try and pick up. You know, let's say they've laid the slab down and maybe they've used, you know, the concrete is not, you know, they've watered down the concrete, or maybe they haven't put the right reinforcing bars inside the slab. You know, how are you going to actually know that? It's already happened. No one can get in there and have a look inside. So there potentially might be ramifications in the future, you know, the 10, 20 years time when there's cracking or something goes wrong. You know, who's liable for that? Is it the builder that finished off the house, or is it the previous builder that's not there anymore? So these are all questions to ask your insurance company, the professional indemnity insurance company. They're meant to be helping you through the process. Saying that, I had the experience of helping out a client that their builder went broke, and they referred to me to try and help them find another builder. Their insurance company was suggesting they go with another builder, and I was saying, hey, I probably wouldn't go with that builder because obviously I'm in the industry. I know how well or not so well builders are going, and I knew that other builder, the insurance company were recommending, were not in a very good financial position. And so fortunately for them, they took my advice and they ended up going with my builder, and we finished off the house and they were super happy. Saying that, the other people that took the insurance company's advice, they went with that building company, and that building company went broke too. And so you can imagine in that situation, you would have had a builder go broke twice, which is, it's like getting hit by lightning twice. It's just not a good experience for anybody, basically. So, and the other thing that is a thing to be very aware of, like I said to you before about the professional insurance company, professional indemnity insurance, we actually went to the shareholders meeting for those clients, and fortunately for my clients, they actually had professional indemnity insurance on their construction project, which is required by law. Some of the people at this shareholder, or at this meeting that they were talking about, people that stakeholders, I suppose, some of them actually didn't have professional indemnity insurance on their project. So again, by law, the builder was supposed to do that. For whatever reason, they decided not to. They didn't have any cover then, you know. And who are you going to go back to complain about that? Obviously, you can go back to the builder and sue them, saying that they, you know, broke the law by not, you know, having the responsibility of having professional indemnity insurance. But the builder's gone broke; they've got no money. So what are you going to do? So you can see there's a lot of things to consider if your builder has gone broke, and there's a lot of things to weigh up. But I suppose the most important thing is just to get your house finished as quickly as possible. If anyone wants an advice out there, if anyone's got that experience, or you're going through that experience, or you know someone that's going through that experience, feel free to get them to message me. I'm happy to try and point them through in the right direction and guide them through it. And if you know someone's had that experience, then I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to you to put a comment in the comment box and tell us about it. Yeah, I know it's a horrible experience, so hopefully you never have to go through it, because yeah, it's just not good for anyone, basically. So if you've liked what I had to say, if your builder's gone broke, you probably won't like it. But if you have just found it interesting, then click on the like button. If you haven't liked it, still click on the like button, because I really appreciate it. And if you know someone that's struggling through this, feel free to get them to give me a call. Otherwise, if you want me to talk about something else in a future episode, then put a comment in the comment box, and I'm happy to chat. Thanks, John, for the likes. You've been going like crazy. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to catching you all again next time. Bye for now.